So, what are like some of the common areas that you need to cover as part of your security risk analysis? Primarily your EHR system. Doesn't matter what kind of EHR system you use, starting from eClinicals to all the way to a cloud-based system or and then also you definitely need to be covering your desktop, laptops, and other end devices because that's what you use to access your EHR system. And then if you are using mobile or tablet devices, that needs to be part of your scope as well. And then networking devices and other things like whether it's like your wireless device or your routers and the firewall and other sort of thing. And the removable media could be like some practices we've seen like they don't even use removable devices. That's not their policy. So it might be out of scope for you in that case. But if you are using removable devices like CDs, thumb drives, or portable hard disk and stuff, then it needs to be in scope. Also, your email is like one of the key things that you need to include because your staff might be using emails to attach some patient-related information to a vendor or to a patient or to a third party. So those are like some of the key things that you need to cover as part of your security risk analysis. So again, as listed here, if you are using a certified EHR system, doesn't mean anything to you. So you still need to complete this security risk assessment. So let's go through each one of these individual areas and look at like what are the different things that you need to be looking at when it comes to your assessment. First thing is if you are looking at just your EHR system alone, then you need to be looking at the configuration of your EHR system, how it is configured to work. Although EHR system that you use comes with vanilla setups, still you need to be reviewing the configuration to make sure that it is configured according to your security policy, according to your security requirements and the stuff. So for example, you might have a cloud-based EHR system and you may not have configured it properly. That will essentially prevent users from connecting from outside your office space. So there are specific provisions provided by EHR vendors based on the IP address or based on the location that you are connecting from. They will allow the connection. So that is like one of the configuration setup, or like it could be a password requirement. You could say like all the users should change the passwords every 180 days or 90 days, whatnot. So, and of course, if you're using on-premise EHR system, you also want to make sure that all the patches that are required, whether it is the operating system level or the vendor-provided patches, all those things are up to date and things. Those are like some of the things that you need to be looking at. And then when it comes to your patient data access, you need to make sure that every user who are accessing the system need to know basis. Roles are assigned based on their need to know basis. So essentially, you need to create some roles and assign those roles. Say, for example, it could be office manager who doesn't require access to the clinical data that is being entered in by a nurse or by the physician. And same thing with like some of the administrative related people, like who doesn't need access to all the information about the patient and stuff. And so especially when it comes to EHR system and IHHS and other agencies are getting really serious about the encryption of data, whether you are encrypting the data end to end, starting from the device that you are storing it all the way like you are transmitting the data and stuff. So encryption of the data. And then lastly, audit logging. So this is like one of the very important things that you need to make sure that you have this enabled by default on your EHR system, so that like any activities, any critical activities that is happening in the EHR system is all logged for you to review or go back and do review, or let's say you want to do some kind of forensics and stuff later on. You have all this audit logs enabled. One of the key requirements for HIPAA is to make sure that you review these audit logs regularly. It could be on a monthly basis, it could be on a weekly basis, or it could even be an automated way. Let's say you define certain rules, and based on the rules, system automatically alerts you. Somebody remotely connecting at 3 a.m. in the morning to your system, so you need to get alerted. Somebody who's connecting from a system that is not approved in the list, you need to be notified. So all these things you could do. So they don't specifically mention in terms of how you need to be logging and reviewing this information. As long as you have a process in place, you have some setup, then you are good with respect to this requirement. And the next one is the desktop, laptop safeguard. These are pretty straightforward. All of you, you all know the ransomware attacks and other things that are going on using emails and other sort of applications. So you obviously want to have some of these antivirus enabled on all your end devices, and then you want to make sure that you have the auto log off and timeout enabled on your EHR system or also on your computer screen, so that like if you're inactive for say more than 10 minutes or so, system automatically logs you off, then like you need to log back in. So this is all like probably if I have to give you an example, so a lot of the banking applications, you try to log into a bank site like and then you're inactive for 5-10 minutes, then system automatically kicks you out, and like you need to again provide your information to get back and access the data. Similar way that you need to set something up in your EHR system. Most of the EHR system comes with this kind of capabilities, but again, like the configuration is what like helps you to enable it, like to every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatnot. And then the next one is no encrypted PHA on desktop and laptop. If you are storing any data, patient-related data on your desktop and laptop, then you need to be encrypting the device. So a lot of you must be using Microsoft-based devices and devices, right? So you want to make sure that you have BitLocker type of encryption enabled. If not, like there are a lot of other third-party vendors who are providing that service as well. So then again, when it comes to mobile and tablet device security, password protection is the number one thing. So if you don't have the password protection enabled, please go ahead and enable it. Like maybe it needs to be a little bit more stringent than your desktops and laptop. I would think anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. If you are inactive on your phone, then it immediately needs to lock you out. Then you need to enter in either your fingerprint or use your fingerprint or enter in the passcode to enter back into your mobile device, right? And then again, remote wiping is one of the key requirements when it comes to mobile and tablet devices. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you have the capability to remotely wipe all the data that are in there. Then texting is technically not allowed, specifically with your patients and stuff. If you're texting with your patient, then obviously you want to use some secure app to communicate with your patients, right? So most of the, if it is going from Apple to Apple device, obviously it is all encrypted end to end. But if it is Android-based devices and things, you probably need to be using a different type of encryption app to make sure that end to end it is encrypted. Then centralized mobile device management and BYOD policy are like some of the things that we recommend for a lot of the practices who are using mobile-based devices. Then when it comes to the networking device, these are like some of the things that you need to make sure that you have in place. Most of these routers that comes with like AT&T or like any of your internet service provider, they have default username and password. Anybody can just Google and get the default username and password and log into your router if they have, if you have internet access in your practice. So that's why like you need to update those default username and password, and then unnecessary services need to be turned off and the firmware to be updated. And then you need to obviously log all the activities that are happening using your networking device. That way, like you can always go back and check what is going on really. And then encryption of all the data that is being transmitted. So removable media, obviously, like the best bet for you is to encrypt that removable media device, right? Make sure that like even if you lose the removable media device, anybody who gets a device, they won't be able to access the data without the key. So that's about the encryption. And then obviously you need to be securely disposing all your data that is stored in your removable media. And then what you also need to have is like you need to have an inventory of all the media, the removable media or the other devices as well, to make sure that you can keep track of all the devices. In case if any of them are missing, you will be able to report them at the appropriate time. Next one is email. Email. A lot of you must be using email to communicate with your patient, vendors, and other parties. Third parties, obviously, it needs to be encrypted end to end, and also you need to be following some of the best practices. So some of you might be also having health information exchange or patient. The security is in place for all those things. Essentially, you're hardening your web servers and other services that you're using as part of this whole, the Mips program and things. So copiers and printers also is like one of the key items that you need to keep in mind when you're doing the security risk assessment. Say, for example, a lot of the copiers printers, they come with the hard disk now. So that means essentially they have the storage capabilities of all the PHI. So you need to ensure that, like, if you're leasing it before the end of the lease, you're wiping out all the data and then resetting to the factory default before you release the system and things.
For more information, click on the link below or visit databrackets.com.